What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel. So this reunion was jam-packed, y'all, okay? They bring on Keke, and right out the gate, Keke and Tisha start going at it. And one thing I can say about Keke is she's very open and transparent, maybe even to a fault, right? So they're going back at it. She's accusing Tisha and Marceau. She's like, you have a cheater on your arm, and Tisha and Marceau are bringing up her past history with, prescription pills. And they reference, of course, the test that she took with Mel. And Carlos was saying that the test results are pretty much inconclusive because one of the things that she took, methadone, which is prescribed, right, as to help people who are addicted to opioids kind of wean off of that. But one of the things on the test that she took was methadone, and Melody read that it was negative. So we don't know how good the drugstore test was, but Carlos was asking her, "Are you, 100% clear and coherent? Were you clean at the cookout?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Have you been clean the whole season?" And she's like, "Yeah." We don't know. Hopefully, they bring up the Crime Stoppers video, which, by the way, I'm wondering. This is real talk, y'all. I'm wondering, are they targeting these Love of Marriage Huntsville reality star cast members? Because if you guys remember, it was Keke on Crime Stoppers, then it was Destiny on Crime Stoppers. Now we got Martell. I'm like, child, listen, Love and Marriage Huntsville people, do not speed or do the rolling stop signs, because the Huntsville PD, it seems like they are really out and after y'all. But anyway, so they target, Tisha and Marceau in regards to their fidelity. And Keke and Tisha going at it. And Tisha's like, well, you paid for your husband to go out. And she's like, yeah, well, what happened was, he went out with somebody, and, I showed up and, acted a fool. And everybody was like, Tisha, we thought that she had actually paid money and sent her man out with another woman. Girl, bye. And so Carlos asked Melody and Kimmy to speak on Marceau and his fidelity. And Mel's like, go ahead, Kimmy. And Kimmy's like, go, Mel. And they're going back and forth. She's like, go, Kimmy. She was like, you got it, Mel. So eventually, Kimmy says she just thinks that Tisha is a woman who's going to stand by her man. They've been together since college, and they built a life together. They have a family together. They have small children together. And unless someone comes forward with the proof, now we've seen Marceau literally globe hop, right? He's went to Africa by himself. He did not take his wife and kids. He went to Colombia during their anniversary weekend by himself, or with his boys, but again, did not take his wife and kids. But if Tisha is okay with that, if she likes it, after all these years, this is season 6, child, we love it. So we're going to have to move on. So then they bring on, then they go to Martell and Melody, right? So Martell and Melody are, going back and forth. And, they're going back and forth over the court documents where he says that Sheree was pretty much a business transaction relationship. And he's like, you're such a liar. And, she's like, well, please get the paperwork, So he storms off in his little extra medium suit. Now, Martell, listen, he does have a nice frame. At least his upper body is, right? But he is hilarious. Of course, everyone knows that he wants his ex-wife back. Carlos asks if he's single. He says he is, right? But then someone else referenced Ariane as his wife. So there's, folks are saying in the YouTube streets that they're secretly married. I don't think so. I don't think that he respects Ariane enough to marry her. He called her a peasant in front of Dr. Francis during their therapy session. Really not even in front of just Dr. Francis. It was in front of the entire world because of the cameras. So Martell doesn't respect Ariane. And to be honest, he doesn't respect any woman. He didn't respect Melody during their, 11 years together. She's, bore 4 children for this man. He doesn't respect anyone, not even himself, really, or his mother. So He storms off, gets the manila envelope, and Carlos is like, not the manila envelope, child. But it doesn't have the transcript of what he said specifically in court. But in this instance, I do believe Melody. Moving on to Big Lou and Tiffany. So they bring out Lewis and Tiffany Whitlow, and they were referencing, them leaving the show. She brought up her postpartum, and I really hope that she does take the time away from the show to focus on her health, her mental health, because she's needed, right, for not only her family and her small son Ace, but also, just herself and her own well-being. Then they bring up, her being called a Karen, and she was like, well, it's kind of difficult, being called a Karen, but from that side of the room, she references Marcel and Martell, and they're trying to downplay it, especially Marcel. He's trying to put it all on Martell, as he usually does. But she thinks that it's because her being half white, half Caucasian. I'll say this: I don't think it has to do so much with her race as how acted, right? That half side of her really came out in terms of meddling in everyone's business, talking down to Keke, essentially thinking that she was better than everyone. And a lot of Karens are socialized to do that, socialized to think that, that they're part of this racial hierarchy where white men are at the top and black folks are at the bottom. And that's just how she came across on camera. I know a whole lot of half white people who are mixed with all different types of, ethnicities from all different types of demographics. Some people have superiority complexes, like, that are not mixed with anything, like, Tim Scott. And, there's a lot of people that just have issue with race in this country. And it's very nuanced, right? But again, I feel like she was really affected by the comments. She attributes it to her being, her mother being white. I feel like it's because she was raised in Utah and she was kind of projecting her own insecurities onto Keke and other cast members. She was just very condescending. That's what I think they should have said instead of calling her a Karen. What she said to Sheree was out of pocket. How she talked to Keke was out of pocket. And so, yeah, it was a condescending tone. And speaking of being condescending, they brought on Miss Betty. So, now one thing I will say, Miss Betty, who's Stormy's mom, she did kind of check Mel. And, she said, you over here arguing with the man that you've been divorced with for 3 years. And that was valid because who has the time? Now I get they're on a reality show, but Melody, don't let this man get you out of character. Like, that he feeds off of that. He reminds me of like having a real adolescent mindset where in high school, if men can engage you, young men, right, have that childish mindset, they can engage you and get you in an argument. They think that means that you're still passionate for them and you still have feelings for them. Child, the way I would pay Martell dust, like if it doesn't have anything to do with the kids or a court hearing or anything, and those answers would be so monotone, yes, no, wham, bam, okay, no, thank you, ma'am. Like literally, she needs to start paying him dust. But Miss Betty was out of pocket in the way that she was talking to Melody at that tea, telling folks to shut up. But Miss Betty has her own issues dealing with her sister and, her own family. So I hope that Stormy, maybe she can hire Dr. Francis or somebody to really sit down and unpack all of that past, hurt and pain. They can get a schedule together where, they can switch out times caretaking for their elderly parents. I think that would help bridge that gap and take up, some of the pressure off of the siblings, Miss Betty and her sister Lisa. But yeah, then they brought on Nell and Chris Fletcher. And, Chris Fletcher, Carlos said, you're a TikTok sensation. So he gets up and they do the James Brown and they're dancing and stuff. And they ended with asking Nell about her, how she got over her infidelity with her marriage to Chris. Now, that's something that I look forward to. I don't think that that's actually been discussed. I know Tisha had brought it up briefly while they were in the restaurant on a double date. But Marcel, shut her down. She wasn't even really able to get an answer out of Nell. Maybe they talked off camera. We don't know, but I'm looking forward to next week. But I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on this reunion? Let me know in the comment section. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care, Aces. Bye.